We've always had room in our hearts for film and TV, not just on Netflix, but tape and disc and theaters. And also, God forbid that they take it all away and leave us nothing to broadcast to loyal listeners. We'll binge watch every single movie, so you don't have to. What else are we here for? Coming to you every week. Listen to us while you're busy. Luckily, we forgot to grow up. Hey everybody, it's Craig.
Hey, it's Scott.
Hey, it's Andrew.
Welcome to episode number 32 of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast, also known this week as the Deadcast, partially because we're going to discuss Deadpool, and partially because it's spring in southern Ontario, and 2/3 of us have these awful allergies. This week's
Heck
podcast,
yeah.
obviously, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about Deadpool. Sounds like fun. And then we're going to discuss what we watched this week, or WWWTW, and then that's it. So Scott, do you want to start talking about Deadpool? Clearly, I've run out of things to say.
That's obvious. That's clear. That's fine. That's why
Thanks
we're
for tuning in this week, guys.
Yeah. But no, we're doing Deadpool this week. The first Deadpool, in honor of the fact that the second Deadpool is in theaters now. Once this episode has dropped, it'll already be in theaters.
We're not special enough to have already been able to see it.
Yeah, no, we don't get screenings. I spent all day, all day. I spent at least 20 minutes today trying to find a screen or two because I'm like, I don't like paying for movie tickets. So I was like, can I find a free one? No, because they don't show screeners in Ontario because we're too northern.
Damn it.
I don't know what the word for that is. I was going to say, no,
bullshit.
Never mind.
Bullshit. I think
bullshit.
that's what it's
called. That is
called.
a good one. Yeah, it is bullshit. But anyways, that's not the point. We're talking the first Deadpool today. We all tried to rewatch this week, but found out that it was not on Netflix Canada anymore, which made me very disappointed. It also kind of makes sense because with the movie coming into theaters, they want to make people have to go buy the first one. And I'm like, damn it, I should have thought of this before. I'm normally better with this.
I'm like, I own it, but it's downstairs. And as you can hear, bad allergies, I did not want to go downstairs.
No,
that's
a breathing hazard.
Change. The pressure change from upstairs versus downstairs, it was too much. So I was like, you know what? It's time to just rock the memory and hopefully remember most of that movie.
Well, I feel like
That's what we're all doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're all in that situation this week, just trying to remember it from our memories. It's not that long that it came out. It only came out 2 years ago into theaters, so February 2016. But yeah, so like there's a bunch of stuff that I wrote down. Not a bunch. I wrote like 8 things down maybe that I liked about this movie and some random trivia facts. So to start, I really like the opening credits of this scene. It has a bunch of different like kind of jokey names that it comes across for the different characters in it, like a wise ass. I can't remember any of them now because again I didn't see them. But like, and then it's like it ends off. Do you know what I'm talking about, Andrew? Do you remember?
Yeah. Where
opening
it's
credits?
There's like a beauty, and then it gives like descriptions.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the best part of the movie or something like that, which was the writers.
Yeah, no, the true
like
the true geniuses of the movie.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Or the writers. Yeah, exactly. So I like that opening credit. It's really unique. I thought I haven't seen something like that kind of before. It's like kind of not taking itself seriously right off the bat. Kind of opened the movie to like you kind of being like, okay, this movie's not your typical superhero movie. This one's a lot more jokey. It's a lot more comedy. It's a little more leaning towards the comedy side even than like the previous superhero comedy attempts like Ant-Man and other things like that. But I really liked Deadpool, like especially that opening credit scene. I thought it just kind of set the pace for the movie of just being like, okay, you cannot take anything 100% seriously in this film because nobody in it really did. Like, not that they didn't take their job seriously, but it's much more like, I mean, you could kind of tell that they had fun with this and they kind of just did what they thought would be the fun and the fans would enjoy the most. And I think that kind of paid off in the end because it's a pretty good movie, I think.
Yeah, I think they got to kind of ad-lib a lot of the scenes. Like I feel like Ryan Reynolds had like 4 lines he was given, and the rest of it was just watch a bunch of stuff from the 80s and the 90s, make as many pop culture references as you can, and just make it happen.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of outtakes that we didn't see of like other like bits that he had tried to work through. Like most comedy movies, you see like they kind of let the comedians and the actors have little little freedom with the lines, being like, okay, try something, work with it. It's what reference is going to work best in this scenario, and
Which
I think they did a really
cuss
good job.
word combo is going to be able to get
Yeah,
it out there?
Exactly. Cuss word ball shot combo is
Yeah.
going to get the joke across the best. It can be a little crude sometimes. That's one thing that I'd have to mark this movie down for. Like, I don't mind a little crude humor, but sometimes it's a little too crass, even for me. I'm just like, I don't need to see your balls that much. Don't point to your balls that much. I'm over it. I get it. I'm over it.
You're hung like a horse. We get it.
We get it. You're Ryan freaking Reynolds. We get it. I'm over it.
I
Move
like
past the
that.
joke.
Not even in the movies, just the trailers for it. Like leading up to the first one.
Oh,
They
yeah.
pretty much have freedom to do what they want just to get it out there. They don't have to show any scenes from the movie. They don't have to like do interviews and stuff. They just get to be weird, and it worked. Like with the first one, it was all about testicular cancer and getting yourself checked out for that, and like doing
there's
this
a bunch of different things.
the self checks and stuff. And I was like, this is perfect. Perfect way to bring this in because it gets to be funny and relevant. But at the same time, check your nuts, guys, because testicular cancer happens.
It does.
But then now for the second one coming out, where they get to do like he's calling out Europe for banning or was it Europe or was it France? I feel like it was France.
I think it was France. Yeah.
Yeah, calling them out. Or they had the one where it was David Beckham sitting at home watching TV, and he's calling and texting, knocking on the door.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this character really allows for them to just have a lot of freedom with the marketing, and I think they've done a really great job. I feel like Ryan Reynolds himself has had a lot of input with some of these. Like even for this new one, I saw that he was in like Japan and went on some random Japan like game show or what's it called? Karaoke game show.
Okay.
And he was like had some like unicorn shirt on and something like that, and he just did that to promote the show, promote the movie like a week ago. So like, yeah, I really agree. I think that's one really unique thing about this movie. It had a really great flexibility with their marketing plan, and like they didn't have to give away the whole movie because this is a shorter movie too. So it's like if they went the normal superhero 2-3 trailer route, with a bunch of TV spots, yada yada, the typical Disney Marvel route, then half this movie would have been shown before anyone sat in the theater. So it's like, I think it's kind of cool that they switched it up, especially for like the first one. They had like you said, the testicular cancer. They also like really emphasized the fact that it was coming out on Valentine's Day, and they did a bunch of different like rom-com type jokes and stuff around that.
Trying to get couples to go to that. Which,
exactly.
if I remember correctly, it had a pretty big opening weekend. So
it did. I think it had the
clearly
biggest
clearly there's some really good girlfriends out there who decided, yes, we're gonna go see this.
Yeah, exactly. So like, and I think that was part of the plan. Well, I think it also helped that Ryan Reynolds was the star, and they didn't show the fact that he was all burnt up in it. They covered him in the suit the whole time. Yeah. None of the trailers do you see the fact that Deadpool
looks like
a
a
tumorous
nutsack.
mother. Exactly. Yeah. Like they left that part out of the trailers, and I feel like that kind of helped lean into the fact that maybe some women definitely were like tagged along or went and saw it on their own volition because of Ryan Reynolds, or because they just wanted to see a Deadpool movie. I mean, I don't know how women think.
And we never will.
Never, ever. Anyways.
Not one of us.
Anyways. Myself
to.
personally, I'm not terribly up to date on the Deadpool comics. I know about him, and I know like what his power set is. I know like he has the ability to like do that fourth wall break. Like he's cursed to know that he's in a comic book.
Yeah, exactly.
So that like he knows it's not real, which that's got to be a burden.
That is, I would imagine, yes.
But at the same time, I like that he keeps going through. Like he's like, you know what, shit, I'm gonna do it just because I can. Why not?
Yeah, that's true, and I really like that too. We've all talked about this before. We don't really follow comic books that much. I've barely read any in my life. So like I've never really known Deadpool as I knew he was from comics, but I have no idea like what happened. I've never read a Deadpool comic. So like I really like that this first movie kind of gave us an actual Deadpool, considering we were supposed to get it, with the first X-Men origin. And that's when I first tried to learn what Deadpool was. But I'm always the guy who was like, I'll rather wait to see what the movie does first, then go compare to the source material, as opposed to vice versa. Source material, then go watch the movie.
Where we know that I'm the opposite. I like source
Exactly.
material, and then I like to see that shit.
I know. So, but that first Deadpool, or not even Deadpool, like whatever you want to call him in the X-Men.
That weird version of Deadpool, yeah. Exactly.
Like that version, like that's one of those times that I'm like, oh no, they definitely fucked this up way too much. Even I was like, no, this is dumb. Did you ask a child to make this? Like what? You just threw all the powers together? Like it sounded like when I saw that guy, I'm like, this is what I used to come up with for a superhero when I was like 5, and was like, yeah, he'd have laser eyes, and he'd be able to heal like Wolverine, and he'd have swords coming out of his arms. Yeah. No, just no, guys. But that's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking about. I like that they reference that in.
I do too.
In this one, where they say, this is my.
In the action.
In the action figure.
Yeah.
And then he puts it down and holds up, wham. Wham. They earned that exclamation mark.
It's right when they earn that exclamation mark.
Yeah.
But actually, fourth wall breaks, you had just mentioned that was the next thing I wrote on my list. I am always a big fan of any movie that throws in any kind of fourth wall break. I love the fact that his character in particular is just made of fourth wall breaks.
Yeah.
So I think they did it really well. They didn't overdo it too much, because it is something you could very easily overdo, where like almost like a Saved by the Bell-esque kind of, they're cutting away way too often, trying to make everybody in the room freeze, and it's like, no, just, you don't have to overuse it, just use it when you need it, a quick little aside to make a joke, right? Little things like that. And I think this movie did a really good job of like balancing having that ability and not overusing it, like using it just at the right moments of being like, yeah, this is where we're going to break the fourth wall. And I think that also kind of applies to the marketing trailers too. It kind of allows for it to be like a little more believable, because you're kind of like, well, yeah, he knows he's in a movie. He's going to take the time out to go make his movie trailers. Like, he's not going to just take a part of his movie away. He's going to go make himself new stuff. So it makes him more believable as a character. Andrew, I think you muted your mic.
Can y'all hear me?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Okay,
now
cool.
We can hear you.
I totally muted myself to cough, but I think you guys heard the cough.
This is a primarily audio-based podcast.
There we go. So, anyways.
We'd like to hear stuff.
We can hear me now, though?
Yeah, we're good now.
We can hear
cool.
you now.
To repeat what I was just saying that no one could hear other than my cats, I like that the fourth wall breaks were all, nothing ever stopped. Like, he didn't just freeze the camera to say it. Like, he was going through his motions and just making and saying it. Like, only we're supposed to hear it. No one else in the world does. Like, where he takes his poke at the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
And how Fox couldn't afford to pay for any extra X-Men.
No.
All that mansion, just 2, yeah.
It's really weird how this big mansion's so empty. Huh.
But that was I like that he just goes through the motions for it, or like it seems like he's just walking by a door, like when you're pissed off at your significant other and you're just gonna walk by and say snide little remarks just to piss them off. Like, your mother washed the dishes. You're like, what? My mother washed the dishes? Like, yeah,
I dishwasher for God's sakes.
Just stuff like that. Like, I feel like that was his way of doing it. And I was like, yes, I stand by that shit.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did a really good job, and I think Ryan Reynolds is one of those like really great actors for being able to do it. Like, it kind of suits his kind of personality a little bit. I feel like now that I'm saying that, I think he might have done it in Van Wilder a couple times, and so he's kind of had practiced at it before. So if I'm remembering correctly, I think when you're first introduced to his character Van Wilder, he's just like walking. He's pretty much doing like a Ferris Bueller kind of like talk to the camera. So maybe that was a little bit of throwback.
Well, he even references Ferris Bueller at the end of Deadpool.
I know. That was one of my favorite things, too. That's my favorite
here?
Normal person movie.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call it. Like, when a normal person asks me what a favorite movie is, I'm like, oh, it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I'm like, oh, if it's someone, I'm like, oh, this person's going to judge me if I say, like, oh, I really like Star Wars and Batman and Superman. And Justice League's pretty good. And I can't really pick one. So I'm just like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's just an easier answer.
What are you doing here? The movie's done. Go home.
Go. There's nothing happening. Why are you waiting? Yeah,
complete with the robe and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you can't do it without the robe.
No, it's got to have the robe. That's what makes the reference.
It wouldn't be a full-on reference without the robe.
It would just be him doing some shit at the end.
Yeah, it'd be a little more confusing. It'd be like, wait, is that supposed to be Ferris?
I like that he's in the costume with the robe on.
Yeah, no, that's my favorite thing about everything Deadpool does. He always has the costume on and then puts whatever over it or incorporates it in somehow. It's because he's vain, right? Like, he's such a shallow guy. Like, most of the movie, like, he only wants to get healed so that his girlfriend will take him back. And it's like, no, dude, she loves you. She'll get past that. But he's so,
she was a hooker.
shallow.
Just pay her a couple bucks every month. It'll work.
Oh.
I promise you she'll stay around.
No. I really like their relationship in this movie. I thought it was really... I love I can never remember her name, the actress, but she's just in so many like sci-fi stuff that I'm just like, I love her.
Well, she's in Gotham, isn't she?
Yeah, she's in Gotham. She plays in Serenity back in the day.
She was in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
For one episode, she played the Crazy Eyes.
She's been in so many things. So it's like, yeah, I was glad to see her. I like her attitude. Like, she really embodies a good job of like just, being sassy and just like a smart ass. And I'm just like, yeah, it's awesome.
The yin to his yang.
Exactly. Like, they balance really well off each other. So I thought they played like you could kind of tell, like, they did a really good job of like kind of showing that they actually kind of built a relationship in such a kind of short kind of time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just a suck for Ryan Reynolds falling in love. Anyways, the next thing I had written down was the bridge scene, which is a big chunk of the movie. But I like what they did with it, though. The fact that you kind of start off with it, and then he goes back and tells the beginning of the story, then comes back to it a couple times. And they don't just like play the whole thing through. They kind of keep hopping back to it, as opposed to having like a bunch of mediocre, middling like action scenes to try and fill up the thing. They just kept going back to this one big one and kind of like teasing it a little bit, and then eventually like giving us the whole thing. And I just really liked it. I thought it was really cool. It's a really interesting way to show like how unique his abilities kind of are, because he is pretty unique in the fact that like he almost has no limits, because like the fact that he can like cut off an arm and it'll grow back kind of thing, right? So he can just do whatever. And I just really liked it. I thought it was really good. I thought the CGI for it, especially considering this movie has like 1/5 the budget of most Marvel movies, like most Disney Marvel movies. I thought it did a really great job of not like leaning into the good, like putting in the work where they needed it, and kind of being like, okay, certain background things we don't need to worry as much about. Because there are a few times you're like, well, clearly they're on a green screen, but I kind of forgave them, because I'm like, oh, I know you guys didn't have as much. I'm glad you put more money into, certain effects, like the end battle scene and that bridge scene, just having him flip and do it a little
fighting in fire when the warehouse blows up.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that scene. Yeah, that's a really good one too. Yeah, so it's like they prioritized the money, I felt, really well when it came to where to put the CGI, like where to put the money into the CGI, and where to kind of be like, okay, this doesn't matter as much. Like the X mansion, right? Like that wasn't, like, I remember when he first gets there, you're like, this is clearly like a very green screen, and they didn't put a lot of effort into it. It's kind of blurry. Like, but I think that's supposed to be like kind of unfocused because it's in the background. Yeah. But
I think that's supposed to go with the joke too. Like the studio didn't have enough money to
exactly,
to
which I think I agree, and that's such a good point. Like, yeah, it definitely kind of leaned into that a little bit, especially in that scene where they're like, oh, why is there only 2 X-Men? You guys own them all.
Right onto it.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, I thought that was really well done. So. But speaking of those 2 X-Men, that was the next thing I wrote, is I really like how he interacted with those 2 guys, like the 2 that they picked, the Colossus and Negasonic Teenage.
See, I almost wish it would have been a different like mentor, just because they've already done a Colossus in like the X-Men movies, and I think there's been like 2 different versions already leading into that. So now that there's another one into that, I'm like, oh, come on. Like, that's I like his version of it, and it worked very well, and it was like a good choice for it. It was just, I almost wish it was a different mentor character. Although at the same
who
time.
would you like to have seen? Like, who do you think would have been a good like suit? Because you also have to remember it has to be someone who can easily kind of like
I don't know.
Like
I was never big into the X-Men. Like I liked the cartoons growing up. But I never liked the idea of the fact that they always had just the right powers in that team to solve whatever problem they were doing.
Okay, that's
like, I always felt like that was just too on the head.
Yeah, it's
like,
very plot contrivance.
I want to see a guy who can shoot fire who they're trying to beat a guy out in the rain. Like I want to see something like that where he's like, oh man, I should have stayed in bed today.
Yeah, today was not the day to try and pick a fight.
Yeah, like something like that. But I don't know. Like I'm not heavy into X-Men, so I don't even know anyone else. It was just the fact that it was the same, or they were using a character they'd already. Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. I agree with that a little bit, because it would have been interesting to see like a new X-Men character who we hadn't seen from the comics before, or from the movies before. I mean, that was from the comics. That would have been interesting. I mean, they have the characters anyways. It's like, especially since he's a CGI character anyways, it's like, well, why couldn't you pick a different CGI big guy who's an X-Men, right? So I agree with that. I think maybe the reason they went with him is just because it's such an easy like it's a cheaper CGI thing. Like they probably already have like a pretty common model for that to paste over. Does that make sense?
Probably, yeah. Give me Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
I really enjoyed that.
Bring him back. I would have liked that, where he uses the Frasier voice, that condescending, smart ass wannabe British voice, just to talk down to Wade, and he's like, oh god, this guy again.
Yeah,
they should have left you dead.
That kind of leans into my second thing I was gonna say about why I think they picked Colossus, was that they needed somebody who was very kind of like, pretty much Deadpool couldn't do anything to. Does that make sense? Like he couldn't fight, like, because all Colossus had to do half the time was just stand there and let him beat himself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So I think that kind of lent into it just a little bit, because if it was like
because he does kick him and break his leg and punch him and break his arm. And
yeah, so it definitely played into the comedic effect, and B, the fact that like if that was if that was maybe like a Beast, it would have been more of an actual fight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like as opposed to Deadpool just like beating himself up on this guy, and this guy just being like, no, you can't do anything, Wade. Come, just stop. Fine. Knocks him in the side of a car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really like the dynamic though that they did have between those characters, and then the teenage kid just being completely like not even kidding.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead. What the shit? That's the best name ever.
And I love that like Deadpool just keeps just like commenting on it and calling her out on being her teenage shit, and she's just like, yeah, as opposed to like denying it, like, no, that's not what I'm doing. She's just like, yeah, leave me alone.
I like the part where they're at the X Mansion, and like Wade shows up and he's like, oh, you guys going to the early bird special? And he's like, yeah, there's nothing cool about saving money and eating before the sun goes down. And I was like, man, I feel you.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Why don't I take advantage of that early bird special more? So genius.
Yeah, we should. Craig, what do you feel about Negasonic Teenage Warhead?
I didn't know that was her name.
Now you know.
It's fair. I'm never 100% sure. I'm always like, I think that's her name.
Well, if it isn't, it is now, because I'm saying it very confidently.
I didn't really think it was a very memorable character.
Really? Oh, I liked her.
I forgot that she existed.
Oh, that's disappointing.
That's fair. What else did you forget about this movie?
Yeah.
What else did I forget about the movie? Most things.
Yeah, it's a redundant question. But Craig, what did you like about this movie, or remember about it, I should say? Besides,
you guys have already talked about most of the stuff that's on my. I actually have a list.
Oh shit! Well, hit us with what's left on your list.
Well, I did put down that I like the opening sequence, the entire thing.
Okay. I like that they're moving in slow-mo, but then the song is playing at normal speed while everything happens.
Yeah. And then as you guys touched on, the witty credits.
Which, going back to that, I read somewhere that Ryan Reynolds actually paid a couple of the writers like out of his pocket to be like on set.
Yeah, I've heard that
So
too.
like looking back at it now, thinking about it, I feel like that's probably why they gave like the extra credit to the writers,
Definitely.
being
For
like the
sure.
real geniuses. Because Fox was kind of a dick about it. They're like, oh yeah, we're not gonna pay you guys. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think it was part of like Ryan Reynolds really wanting to make sure it was done properly. Like everything
Probably, yeah.
was like really because like
He had to wait, what, 6 years at that point to make that movie, right?
And it was already like, and he'd already had like he got a lot of shit for the first one, even though it's like, well, he was just the actor in it, right? He didn't get the
he just
choice.
did what he was told.
Yeah, it was a job, and then it's like, and then same with Green Lantern. It's like he just showed up and did his job. He wasn't in
That
charge of
movie
CGI.
was pretty good.
I'm okay with
on-
it.
yeah.
Everyone else hates it. It's on my. It's I couldn't say it's in my top 10 because there's a lot of DC films out
Yeah.
nowadays. But it's still
it's not in my bottom 100.
exactly like I still hate the Titanic more.
Yep, 100%. Rose should have died in that movie. Not in real life, in the movie.
We'll get to that later.
Will we?
We will. Trust me.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna mention that I still use the superhero landing line
Nice.
okay.
frequently.
Okay. I like
Yes.
it.
It's terrible for your knees.
It is.
It
It's
really
terrible.
is.
Like, it makes me cringe looking at it.
Yeah, it does.
Just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, God.
Now I specifically look for that trope in every superhero movie too, because it's like I knew it was a thing too, but it's a little bit more of a like they just did it. Deadpool was talking about that.
Like, every time Superman does it. Like, I like that he has to do it in order to fly, too. Like, he does it in reverse.
Yeah.
In order to take off. He's got to do, like, the crouch and then the super jump.
Yeah.
Which is probably even worse. Well, no, there's less impact going up, I guess.
Probably.
I feel like Superman's knees are the least of his concerns.
I feel like he's so strong, he doesn't even, like, jump. He pushes the world down.
Yeah, that's
Like,
he's knocking us off our axis
he knocks,
every time.
Yeah, knocks us off axis every time he tries to fly.
He did turn the Earth around.
That's true.
Actually, no, that's a. You guys are talking about the first Superman, right?
That was Superman 3, wasn't it?
Or whatever one he's reverses time.
Yeah,
The one where he reverses
Yeah,
time by
that was
by
supposed to
reversing the
be
rotation
yeah,
of the
that was
Earth.
supposed to be like a representation of him going back in time, not turning back time. But they just did a bad job. I actually listened to a podcast about this earlier today, where they were talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
It
fact.
doesn't matter. The Earth.
the
went
Earth
other
still went,
direction.
yeah. Just,
Well,
That
no,
was my
that
point.
was just he was traveling backwards through time, and that was the only way That's how they just represented it, was showing everything going the reverse
That
way.
was terrible.
Well, I
They
agree. I'm
should've
not
just
saying it was
cut.
done properly. I'm just saying their intent was slightly
They-
different.
They should have just cut from
Oh, I agree.
scene and then have it be like 6 hours earlier.
Yeah, that would have definitely
I'm
worked a lot
happier with
better.
that.
Had him like fly around the sun or something like that would have worked. You know, like him fly out and then come back and it's 6 hours earlier kind of thing. Just something weird like that. It's like, oh, somehow traveling towards the sun, he went back in time. But that's
No,
Superman. We're talking Deadpool.
I want to see the old guy from Family Guy who's like 8 fucking hours later. From the episode where Peter sleeps with Lois when she's a call girl or a phone sex lady. It's 8 fucking hours later. And then no one would ever watch Superman 3 again. Is Superman 3 that's a quest for peace?
No, that's 4,
Superman 4?
I think.
Or Quest for Peace? Quest for Hope?
Quest. Damn it.
Something. All I know is that's when Peter finds out that's why they call it the movie. Call the movie
No,
that.
it's Superman 4 is the one that he is the one where he says, "Oh, that's why they call it that."
So that's why they call
Superman 3 is just
it that.
Superman.
That's
3
what it is, yeah. Because Superman 4 is with the
Superman
robots,
4.
right?
Is the quest for peace.
Yeah.
I don't think it's robots. I think it's the
Or the
Peace.
genius who creates the...
I think it's the sun dude.
Richard Pryor, isn't it? Oh. Which one's Richard Pryor?
I think that's
It's
3.
3?
I'm not sure now. I haven't watched
can't
those
remember.
in so long,
Yeah,
like since
me
high
neither.
school, definitely.
Me neither. Anyways,
Yes,
back to Deadpool. How... Oh, Craig was talking about the Superman landing. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
Superhero landing.
Well, I said superhero landing.
Yeah.
Superhero landing. I think Gal Gadot is the only person who doesn't actually do like the superhero landing. Like I think she just lands in perfection every time. Like in Justice League, I can picture her like using the lasso to flip herself back up when they're fighting underneath the Gotham Harbor.
Yeah.
And she just like lands like slightly crouched, but like very minimal impact. Like,
Yeah, she's not getting the full thing. She just has to like flex her legs a little bit, like Grace, and she's good.
I feel like she weighs like 14 pounds though. I feel like being that part god, like she's just light as a feather.
She's like an elf, like
Yeah,
she can walk on top of snow.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
I feel like she can.
That'd make it harder to believe that she could,
She
deal
flew
the
that
punches
one time.
She does. Well, that's fair, I guess.
Maybe she can change her density like Ant-Man, where he just like gets more dense.
I don't know. I've never understood how she flies. I've always justified that as how Superman flies, is that he has some way of controlling his density in some way, but even that's just me.
Some superpowers just make no sense when you think about it. Like
You think about way too much. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
flying makes zero
like at least
sense.
Iron Man and Batman, shit, even like the Pym particle, like there's science behind it.
Yeah, they fake it with the science first,
yeah.
right? It's all these other ones that are just like, oh no, he can fly. Wait, what? He can fly because he's an alien?
Why can Superman
What?
shoot lasers out of his eyes and his breath is super cold?
What? Like, how did that evolutionarily happen whatsoever? Like, I don't understand this. Like, why does the sun affect how you evolve in that way? What?
Different color sun too.
Yeah, different color suns, and but we're almost identical. It's just the cells are different. This just.
Does that mean if we get red sun that we become Supermen?
I don't know.
Like
That's
if,
the part I'm
like
confused about.
if somehow Superman was able
Because there's
to
no
put
kryptonite. So yes.
if Superman was able to put like Krypton back together somehow, and he's like, "Yo, Batman, you want to come check out my new crib?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do the shit." So they go to Krypton, and then Batman can just whoop his ass effortlessly
I don't know.
because he's got the intelligence and the superpowers from the red sun.
Do our cells absorb red sun energy the way that Superman's cells absorb the yellow sun?
I don't know. We'd probably die. Let's be real.
Scientists, write in and tell us. There's no scientists listening to this,
this
man.
is what we
There's
really
none.
need.
Movie science.
Yeah, but back to Deadpool again.
Back to Deadpool.
The
What
only
other than the superhero landing did you like, Craig?
yeah,
Liked the humor. This is the one and only time I've ever felt like I was going to faint in a movie, though.
I remember that where you had to go get water.
Yes. I had to go die in the movie.
Craig
theater.
almost died at Deadpool.
what happened? Was it
Yeah.
because of the movie,
in a pool of his own vomit.
or was it
Well,
because of
it's-
like food poisoning?
It's a combination of the two. I had not eaten before going to see the movie,
Okay,
and I don't do well with intense gore.
okay.
And by that point, I'd gotten pretty lightheaded.
You
and
saw a
it
guy
got
get
to the
shish
point where-
kebabbed.
Yeah, which was most of it was fine up to like the middle, where I can't even remember exactly which scene, but that was about where I started to feel it, and I went and got water and came back. It was good,
No,
but it was
Was
just like it was just a combination of the two things. It was really gory, which is fine.
yeah.
But
If you
It just
I
you were
wasn't
prepared
necessarily
for it. I
expecting.
get that. Yeah, that makes sense.
I knew what I was going into.
Yeah,
And I knew that I was going to have a slight issue with it because can be squeamish. But
you were raised better
I
than
didn't
the
think
rest
it
of
was
us.
going to be to the point. Well, I just don't like that.
Yeah, I
sort of
know.
thing.
I'm just-
Yeah, but I didn't think it was going to be to that point.
That's fair. I've had a similar kind of experience in a superhero movie before when I saw Doctor Strange, and you see his hands after the car wreck.
Oh yeah.
I almost
Yeah.
fainted. I was like, you could ask my brother if he ever talks. That I curled up into like a ball in my cinema seat, just like thinking I was about to throw up because all the blood in my body just disappeared. I don't know where it went, but it disappeared for like 5 minutes because it wasn't in my head or anywhere, and I just was like covered in a cold sweat. So
I get that way with eyes. Like I can deal with most shit. Things that are bent the wrong way, like if your
Oh, yeah.
foot's like backwards or like your elbow gets snapped and it's fucking 90 degrees the wrong way.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
But
that's the kind of
eyes,
thing,
man.
though.
Like I don't even like people touching contact lenses. Like,
Oh
ugh.
no, I get that. I get that.
Like if your body's not the way it should be, just die.
Yeah.
Like just give up, man. Like that's ugh.
and don't show it on my film. Like I don't want to see
Absolutely.
this. Like this is what cutaway scenes are for, guys. Cut away. Cut away. I don't
Like I can live with Wade like hacking off his own arm, because then I don't like you see some blood, which
Yeah.
I have no problem with blood. It's just like things bent the wrong way, or like ugh.
Yep. Anything that you can empathize with, that's where. it
Yeah.
really
No, I
gets me.
agree. Yeah, it's like, oh no, I can imagine that happening to me.
Like I don't even like looking at owls who can turn their head most of the way around. I'm like, no,
Ah.
how?
This is quickly turning into the episode where Craig fainted.
Like it's gross to look at. Where the owl was like, oh yeah, what's going on back here? Okay, back to the front, and he doesn't even have to move. Like I feel like Iris can do that. Maybe that's why I'm so scared of it, because she's just watching all the time.
That's very possible.
But yeah, the humor, as Craig mentioned,
Yeah.
I like that they use it to get away with a lot of things by like throw a joke in here and there to like get over being chauvinistic or
Yeah.
misogynistic. Just throw it in to cover up any douchebaggery.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like any misgivings that people would have, they were able to quickly
Yeah.
like just be like, oh no, here's a little like asterisk on that thing that you thought you were gonna say, just in case you were going to. There you go. Yeah, no, I agree.
There we go.
Yeah. I thought it just, I agree. It had a really great cast and the way they interacted, and obviously the writing was really well. And the fact, I think they did a really good job of like sticking with a certain amount of the script and being also like flexible enough to ad lib with certain things, letting Ryan Reynolds ad lib when he needs to, but also sticking to the script when you kind of need it a little bit more. Like I feel like that superhero landing line, that seems like a script thing, because you have to be like, oh, well, obviously she's jumping down before that scene.
Yeah.
So, like, it has to be a little more planned than as opposed to the fact that they were just standing there that day and she's in a superhero landing. It's, I don't know. Although to me, it just seems like that was probably a little more written. But anyways, the point being, just did a really good job, and I liked it too. Funny.
Definitely. Like I liked Angel Dust a lot
Definitely.
personally, as like a sidekick, evil
Like henchman,
lackey.
yeah.
Like I liked it because like I felt like she was just going along with it because she could. Because she was
Yeah.
like, dude, I could snap your neck if I wanted to, but you're cool, whatever. Let's do this shit.
She was doing it because she didn't want to be in charge. Like, if she wanted
Yeah.
to, she could be the big bad who just, like, breaks Ajax's neck when he's not looking. But
Yeah.
she's just like, no, I don't got time for that. I don't got the patience to be in charge. Just tell me who to beat up. I'm down to do that. And her and, and Colossus go at it. I like the little joke they have between them where, oh. And she's like,
You're out. Oh,
such a
that's so nice.
gentleman. And then she just knocks him. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's.
Does she like punch him in the nuts or something at one point?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, that was just really good. I agree. Her character was really well done, and the actress who played her, who I'm not sure who it is, I think she was actually an MMA fighter, if I'm
I
not
think so.
mistaken.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did a really great job of filling in that role.
She had beautiful hair. I'm gonna say it.
You're the
She had
expert on
beautiful
that.
hair.
You are the expert on hair.
I like to think I am, anyways.
I'm saying it right now.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Recorded. It's
There we go.
official.
It's on record.
It's on record. Anybody who wants to argue with it can come fight me in person. I'll fight them to the death with my freaking awesome haircut that you gave me. Thank you again.
Damn right.
Lives in
Shamelessly
Ottawa, it's
plugging me.
worth the trip.
Always, 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 always.
But yeah, like I felt like this cast was just built around, like, obviously it's Ryan Reynolds' movie, but a lot of strong like independent women characters. Like Vanessa, his girlfriend, like she didn't need no man. She chose to have Wade there.
Exactly.
And then and then they even make the joke, with Negasonic Teenage Warhead, where she's kind of like a, that bratty teenager who does what she wants, but like at the same time, like, don't fuck with her.
Yeah.
And then when Wade's like, oh, I feel bad for any guy who pressures her into prom night sex. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like she's a badass. Don't do that shit.
Yeah, she won't put up with your shit. She'll only
Yeah.
put up with it to the point that she accepts, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is the line, and
And
she's
then
just
she'll
ready
blow
to,
you up,
yeah, she's like, hold my phone,
shoot you through the roof
yeah,
of the car.
she'll go warhead on your ass.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And then, as we mentioned, Angel Dust, she being a strong, independent character who doesn't
Yeah.
need to work for someone, she chooses to.
exactly. And then you got what's her name? His roommate.
Blind Al.
Blind Owl. Yeah, I was like Owl something. Blind Owl. She's blind and she's getting it going. She's got it. Like, oh, I love her. She's she's the chick from Star Trek.
Is she from Star Trek?
Yeah, the original, like way back in the day. She was Ahura. Oh, I forget the actress's name, and I feel so bad and terrible now.
You say she's a whore?
I got you.
No, she was Ahura.
Oh. I heard she was a
Lieutenant
whore, and I was like,
Uhura.
you don't know her. You can't speak to that.
No, that was her character's. Unless I'm saying it wrong, right? Craig, you knew what I was saying it right, Craig? She was the communications officer.
I think so.
Back me up now.
She's played by Zoe. What's her name in the new
I'm
ones?
trying to find it.
Zoe.
Trying to find it.
Oh,
Zoe. Gamora. She's played by
Gamora,
Gamora in the new Star Treks.
fuck. Zeldana or something?
Is it Zoe Zeldana? Did I get the Zoe part right? I think it's her name's Zoe. No, I'm so bad with names today.
Yeah. I blame the
Okay, so
allergy meds.
The actress's name
Zeldana.
is Leslie Uggams.
Okay. Sorry, Craig. What was that?
The actress's name is... Nope, that's the character's name. Give me a second.
Are you looking up the?
I can't believe how difficult this is to find.
I feel like your keyword searching needs some work.
I don't think so.
Did you search
think you
Star
just need
Trek
to
cast?
Don't use any...
No, I didn't do Star Trek cast. I did Blind Al Deadpool actress.
Why didn't you just go to IMDb and go to
That's
Deadpool?
because that's where I am now.
It was Zoe Zeldana, by the way.
Oh, cool. Okay, at
We
least I
got
got
that
Zoe
shit
right.
right.
I got one of them right.
It is Leslie Uggams.
Leslie, I'm sorry.
Uggams.
Algums? Okay, I just didn't know her
Uggams.
name to start. Okay, that makes me feel a little
G-G-A-S.
better.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't remember that. I'm not gonna remember that kind of name.
She's been in a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, she's done a bunch of like smaller roles and stuff since Star Trek. A bunch of different sci-fi she's had like guest appearances on and stuff like that.
She was on a TV series called The Girl from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, it's not something I would watch. But back to Deadpool.
An episode of Magnum P.I.
Well, who wasn't in Magnum P.I.? I was in Magnum P.I. for God's
And-
sakes.
And an
You too.
episode of The Cosby Show.
Ooh.
Man.
And then
Too soon.
basically
Too
nothing
soon.
until 2011.
Well, I think she had some grandkids in there. Well, she had kids and then some grandkids again. So
I was
took some time off.
I was gonna say she just blacked out from being on the Cosby Show.
Oh no, not cool. No.
Too soon?
No, too soon.
Too soon.
Yeah. Wow.
So dark, guys. The both of you
So
with the
dark.
Cosby stuff. Let's bring it back to Deadpool.
I just brought it up. Don't shoot the messenger.
Bang bang.
Anyways, the last stuff I had
Shoot at the
written.
walls of heartache.
Oh.
Absolutely.
What?
I am the
Don't
Deadpoolier.
worry about it.
Okay. So the last stuff I had written down for my Deadpool notes was I wrote down a few trivia things because I didn't write down much other stuff. So I'm like, I should write some random trivia down.
Okay. Are these fun facts, or are you gonna ask us the questions and we're gonna try to answer them for you?
No, these are just fun facts. There's not much questions to be asked with
Okay.
these ones. They're
Yeah.
just random fun facts. So like
I
the
like that
first
you
one.
had to think about it.
Yeah. Well, I read them quickly. I was like, well, can I make any of these work as like a question? And no. Like,
Okay.
so the first one's just that Ryan Reynolds said that Deadpool will be the last comic book character he ever plays. He's open to like sequels and cameos, but he's not planning to take any more superhero roles because I think he kind of got tapped out through, the fact that, his Green Lantern appearance wasn't accepted very well. And then he had that R.I.P.D., which is technically
Dark
a comic
Horse,
book
isn't it?
character. Yeah. Well, I think that's
I like that movie.
I did too, but it got like squashed in by critics and like
That
How
happened.
do you
That-
not like Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges?
People, man.
people. I don't have to tell you. I
Scott-
said,
Scott
I
and
enjoyed
I
it.
Anything.
Scott and I were talking about this earlier about like TV shows that get renewed or when they create new shows because they're out of ideas and they think it's a great idea, a la the new Alfred Pennyworth show that they're making.
Yeah.
And like I feel like a lot of times they're just grasping at straws and they don't know what people want. And then they don't know what they want themselves. They don't realize it's a friggin' movie.
Yeah.
Like I've shit on a lot of movies in my day, but like I feel like some of mine are more realistic, where it's just an honest fuck up.
Yeah.
Whereas some people they're like, no, that's not what my Batman does, and I'm like, eat shit.
See,
It's
I'm
not
a big
your
I agree with
Batman.
that. Like people who have like fan expectations, I've done a rant about this. Like people who are just like, oh, I didn't like that because I had a certain expectation and it didn't meet that, and it's like, oh, so
You're one of like 7 billion people, John.
yeah,
what
and
are you
it's like
complaining about?
you're one of those kids who wrote a list to Santa Claus, and then when you didn't get everything on that list, you threw a tantrum. That's the equivalent, okay? When you cry about a movie not meeting your expectations, you're a kid who cried about Christmas gifts, and so I have zero respect for that whatsoever, or your opinion, because you're not allowed to cry about Christmas gifts. Don't cry about a movie not meeting your expectations. You cannot like it because of that, but that's not why a movie's bad. Like that's
Sometimes movies are just shit. You deal with it. You move on.
Exactly.
A la 2000 Planet of the Apes. That movie is shit. Okay, I'm not gonna say it didn't meet my expectations.
Yeah.
It was just a shit movie. Don't watch it again.
I'm going to. I like that movie. That's my favorite. It's so campy and so like
Oh Christ!
Marky Mark.
Back before he became an A-list actor.
Yeah, before he was being paid to be a bad actor.
Yeah, back when he was one of the other guys.
Exactly. But I do have 2 more little trivia facts about the movie.
Hit us.
So the second one is just that this has a lower budget than every Marvel, X-Men, and DC movie that's been made, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
And made
and I'd
more
say
than a
it's
lot
at
of
least
them.
yeah, I was gonna say it's at least in the middle of the pack.
Definitely. I would say even like, it's hard to say because there's just so many. Like there's 20 Marvel movies, but I would say it even could compete amongst the top 10, 15 Marvel, like Disney movies, I'd say, just because it's so funny. Such an original idea, like especially for a superhero origin. The fact that Disney's done, 5, maybe 6. How many total origin movies does
We got Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange. Black Panther technically was an origin story because they introduced him and then showed him after.
Are we counting Guardians?
Guardians, I think so, because they.
So then we just hit
that was
6.
like
We
their
can leave it
origin,
there
yeah.
and pretend there's nothing else that came out.
Because Black Panther technically wasn't an origin story.
No, because he was already introduced in
and
Civil
the Incredible
War.
Hulk wasn't an origin story.
No.
He already existed. It was like a middle of the line.
And everything else, and then Spider-Man is the same with Spider-Man: Homecoming. He was
Yeah.
already
He
Spider-Man.
he was already introduced.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I would say compared to like a lot of those, it can compete with a lot of those ones as like an original idea because most of those are very cookie cutter esque and similar, following a formula.
I'd probably put it on par with Guardians just because it was kind of a darker, like smarmier humor.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like a more of an adult kind of humor, whereas
Yeah.
like Guardians, you can take a family to. Deadpool,
You can take your family, but
you might get looks if you bring your younger children with you. They may end up like
As John Mulaney so succinctly put it, there are a lot of people whose parents have grossly underestimated what's about to happen.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's, I feel like, how any kids who went into this would have been like, or a family that went into this with kids would have felt like. But anywho, my last trivia fact just was that this movie was only shot in 48 days, which I thought was pretty cool. Like that's such a short period of time to film a movie in my mind, but I'm at the same time.
I guess
I'm
it
like,
makes sense. They really only have 4 places where they had to film.
exactly. It's
Or
a lot.
5 maybe, an apartment building,
Yep.
green screen
And
on a highway somewhere,
Green screen.
at a bar.
Yep. That might have
That's
been
it.
50%
That's
of
it.
the movie was done in post.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it was done in post. So like I like now that like I mention it, it's pretty like, yeah, it makes sense. I just thought it was pretty interesting because it's like that still seems pretty like concise. Less than 2 months it took them to get all the stuff, but I guess it kind of makes sense when you.
31 of those days was probably just like Ryan Reynolds pissing himself laughing, just like to the point where like his abs hurt and he couldn't get the lines out, just laughing at his own shit.
You think his abs ever hurt? Really?
That's probably why he got the abs like that, man. Was from laughing so hard at his own shit.
Just from laughing so hard?
Yeah.
No, that's where mine are from.
His abs were way better in Blade Trinity.
Well, in his defense, he's literally aged 20 years, almost 20 years since then.
That's true.
Or 15 at least. It's been at least 15
his
years.
His face is better looking, but his abs were shredded back then.
Yep. I'm going to defend him in that the younger you are, the easier it is to be really shredded.
That's
I'm
true.
I'll speak to that.
That's probably Peter Quill's problem then.
It's 100%.
He says he's going to get a Bowflex. It's just because he's like 40-something. He's middle-aged.
So true. He's getting to middle-aged. It's so weird, too, because between like the first Guardian to the second and then the second to Infinity War, he just aged out of nowhere almost and put on some of the weight. I'm just like, again, it's been over a few years.
Him and his wife split up. He probably went through some shit. He's probably like, I'm going to drink some of this scotch and eat that key lime pie. Why not?
That's fair. That's kind of like with Ben Affleck in Justice League. Because he was not as shredded as he was in Batman v Superman. Like, they had him put on a shirt that had fake abs. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Now you know you guys. Now you know you just, no.
Yeah, but when Jennifer Garner leaves you, you give up. Like, you go get a giant phoenix back tattoo like he did. And then...
I feel like he already had that.
Probably. That was probably
I feel like that was the first thing he got after like making it like really big. That was his thing, like his thing to himself. He's like,
this is my rebirth.
Yeah, exactly. What if
after Goodwill Hunting, he went and got a back tattoo.
Maybe that's so true. Like maybe we're just broke down. What's happening with Ben Affleck's psyche? But that was all the trivia facts and notes and stuff that I had about Deadpool.
I think I covered everything. I like the movie. I'm excited to talk about Deadpool 2
once
our upcoming
we go
episodes.
and see it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about you guys. Hopefully I've seen it by the time this has been released.
I will see it by Friday night, probably.
That's good. I'm going to try. We'll see.
Assuming my allergies go away and I'm not sitting there in the movie theater, because I hate people who do that. Granted, I've been that person once or twice, but I hated myself every step of the way.
That's understandable. So shall we move on to what we all watched this week then?
This will be a quick one.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Sounds good.
Oh, yeah, it's a short week.
Who wants to go first?
I want to hear what Craig watched this week, because I want to hear what Craig's watched this week.
He hasn't talked in a little while.
I teased it a little bit. I kind of teased it a little bit.
Did you watch Titanic?
We'll get there, man. We'll get there. So I watched the Joel McHale show.
Okay.
Yep.
Obviously.
Surprise.
So can we talk about that for a second?
You want to talk about the news or?
Because, well, I want to talk about how stupid it is.
What do you mean?
First of all,
the binging
season.
Okay, that's fair.
Season finale, which is all well and good.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't expect it to go on forever.
I forgot, to be honest. I forgot that it had been 13 weeks
and that it was take a break. Yep, me too, because it went by so fast because it's enjoyable
and so short. Yeah.
And then they say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have 6 episodes available for you to binge watch."
Yeah.
No.
I know where you're coming from.
I like the weekly update. It's good and it makes sense. I mean, I don't watch any of those
That's
shows.
the part that I'm
so
defending. That's where I'm just like, I don't watch any of those shows, and there are so many that's like I feel like they can't even cover them all in certain episodes for a certain week. So it's like, well, let him spend a day doing 6 episodes and then take a vacation. Let Joel McHale rest.
I mean, they could have shot it all in, like, they don't do anything super topical, so they could have shot all 13 episodes.
No, that's what I was thinking,
in a couple days if they wanted to. It's probably already, well, I mean, close to done that way. I don't know how old the clips are. It wouldn't really matter to me. I like the fact that Netflix was holding them back.
No, I agree.
Because I know the other argument is that you can watch the episodes 1 week at a time.
And it's like, well, no, I don't have self-control.
That's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, no. I agree, Craig. I'm the same way with the superhero shows. Like, I really like that I get all the DC ones. So that, like, I hate that I have to get them off of cable, but I kind of like that they're all on cable and not binge-watched, because I would just binge-watch them in a weekend, and then maybe 1 week or 2 weeks out of the year I get these things as opposed to once a week.
That's what I do with all of them.
Well, yeah, you're different like that. You prefer to just binge them. I just prefer to have them every week because I like always having those to go back to, and that's how I think Craig kind of likes the Joel McHale.
It's like something to look forward to that week because. And we don't necessarily need everything to be instant gratification either.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. It's like we don't need all 6 episodes necessarily at once. Why can't? Well, like especially since it's like, well, if you guys already have all 6 done, you could easily just hold them off each week. It doesn't cost you guys anything.
Or rather than wait until July 14th, just put them off one at a time.
Yeah, for between now and July 16th, they could easily just be like, oh yeah, once a week till then.
Just release them all in a week, like once a week, and I would be perfectly fine with it. But yeah, so Joel McHale show.
Yeah,
we've talked about that. Mike Tyson Mysteries. It looks like season 3 is over.
Which is a shame.
That I know.
Although that episode wasn't as good as the previous. The prior was definitely better.
It was. No. All the bitch references are infinitely better than the twists that happened in the most recent episode.
There's too many twists.
Do we even bother with? Well, yeah, because then it was a typical Mike Tyson Mysteries episode where it's like twist after twist after twist after twist,
and then it's done.
At the end, it just kind of ends.
Yeah,
and you're like, wait, what?
Where did this come from?
Yeah, that's what I like about Mike Tyson Mysteries the most is that the endings just have you go, what? And because it's so short, it just kind of sneaks up on you.
Yeah, because it's only like 10, 11 minutes.
You're at the 10-minute mark, and you're like, wait. Did we just... What?
Yeah.
What'd I miss? Am I a bitch?
I must be a bitch. So I watched Mike Tyson Mysteries. I was going to watch Deadpool. I really was.
Yeah.
On Monday night, I sat down to watch it, and then I was at a loss for things to watch. And there's been a couple movies that I've been wanting to get to on Netflix. One of them is Kodachrome, which looks mediocre, but a time waster. But the other one was this new movie, Anon, that they keep trying to push. I don't know if
is it Clive Owen who's in that?
To you guys, I couldn't tell you who's in it. I would just watch the movie.
I know I put it in my queue, but I have not watched it yet.
It's the dark, like sci-fi looking one. It was pretty good. I liked the way that they made it because they didn't like you know how a lot of sci-fi movies feel like they need to kind of explain everything to you so you don't feel like you're lost in this weird universe?
People can't pick up context clues anymore in society.
Yeah. So whoever wrote this movie said, I don't care about those other people.
Yes. Did I write this in my sleep?
It's close enough
Possibly.
it's close enough to like current society that it's not much to pick up on, but there's no blatant explanation of what's going on.
All right.
There's no true technological explanation either.
It's interesting.
Like, because the concept is that everybody's got this augmented reality, right? So you can see who other people are.
Yeah.
And you've got all this context related to everything. So constantly you're living in an environment where like you can see people's names and what they do and what this is and the calorie content of what's in this food and don't eat that, and everything's being constantly recorded and it can be pulled up and monitored by the police, right? So that's kind of the context that you get from just a few minutes of watching the video. You can see kind of like the comparison between what's outside of everybody's head and what's inside everybody's head.
Gotcha.
So you get like the real world and then the overlay world and then all this stuff, but they never directly explain anything. They just kind of force you into this.
They're like, you have to believe this concept and go with it for the movie. We're not telling you why.
And you have to, if you really want to know, you just have to sit and figure it out.
Yeah.
It sounds like a hybrid of like The Giver and that 80s apocalypse movie that I talked about before, They Live, where it's like where
kind of.
reality isn't what we think it is type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a hybrid of that.
So the concept in this movie is that basically like anybody can pull up what they call your record, and it's what you saw for whatever time. Everything's being constantly recorded. It can be pulled up. So that's how they solve crimes. Basically, is if there's a crime, you go to the police. Both records are pulled up, and then they compare the two of them, and that's it.
Lazy policing.
And it follows the police, and actually the police officers get fairly excited when they run into one where it can't be solved just by looking at the records.
Okay, is that what kind of the mystery of the movie is then?
That's the premise, is that there's this hacker who's erasing.
Oh, I love a hacker movie.
Erasing things that have happened in the past.
Yeah,
it's a fixer basically. So someone who like let's say the examples that they use in the movie are like buying drugs or affairs or things like that.
Yeah, you can delete it from the
use
record.
The technology to so they cover up the record. They don't delete it.
Oh, okay.
There's a
hole,
gap. It's suspicious, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
But they cover it up by taking other elements of your life and like looping it over, or removing certain things. Like if it's a drug deal, they remove the drug dealer from the scene, but it looks like you're still walking down the street.
Yeah, you just stopped in the middle of the street, stood there for a second, put your hand out, put it back in your pocket.
Exactly. Except that there's this hacker that's killing people, but covering over the actual act, so they can't solve who it is, and that's the premise of the movie. And then there's a bit of a, I mean, I kind of saw it coming. I'm not gonna tell you what the twist is in it, but
well, now we know there's a twist at the end.
It's not really a twist necessarily, but there's no real hints on what the heck is going on until they reveal who the killer is.
Fair enough.
Like there isn't even a like a primary suspect or an inkling or anything at all.
Okay.
Until they reveal who the killer is.
Is it obvious?
And it's like, it's not. It was pretty subtle. I watched it with Megan. Megan didn't pick it up, but I did. Because as soon as they show the thing and then, well, yeah, as soon as they show the killer in the mirror, it's like, oh, I knew, like I figured it was.
Yeah,
them.
you put all the pieces together.
Right?
Then you're like, oh, that made sense.
I kind of saw it. I kind of saw it coming initially, and it. So yeah, there's no suspect. There's a lot of quiet. It's very sexual. There's a lot of sexual content and nudity.
I noticed that a lot about
aside from that,
more recent Netflix original movies is that they're down to go there. Like,
well, they just slap a not rated tag on it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Well, and they're pretty good at like knowing. Well, they obviously know who's like has kids in their households and doesn't, and they're like, oh yeah, not showing this anywhere near the kids' profiles, stuff like that. Yeah.
If you have a kid's profile, you can't watch.
Yeah.
Or if you have any profile that's not like adults, you can't watch anything that's not rated.
Yeah, which makes sense, which is good.
Including documentaries which aren't rated. So yeah, I watched that. It was good. I recommend people watch it. And if you don't like it, don't tell me about it because I don't want to hear it. And then I watched Titanic.
You did.
I did, and I've seen Titanic.
I thought you were joking.
I know. I wasn't.
I was wondering where this was building up to. I was hoping it was some kind of like, oh, I watched this episode of Family Guy where the Titanic was in it, or there was this comedy special I watched where they made a bit about the Titanic.
I actually watched Titanic.
We actually got to it,
and I've seen it before, but it was like 15 years ago, so I didn't really remember it that well. It was probably before 15 years ago, probably closer to 20. I didn't really remember a whole lot about it, and it does suck a lot.
Okay, I was just about to ask, like, am I justified in still hating it? Because I don't have a good reason to hate it. No, I just do
because they wrote all the good lines for Leonardo DiCaprio. Nobody else has a decent line in the entire film. God.
Especially considering there's some high actor caliber in there. Like isn't Kathy Bates in that movie?
Yes, she is.
I distinctly remember Kathy Bates. She's a phenomenal actress.
She's one of the better characters too. But like she doesn't have any very good lines either. So he's got all the really good lines, which at some points are not great, but he has all the good ones. And then you've got characters that are like his best friend in the world, the Italian Fabrizio, comes on the boat with them, and they win the tickets in the poker game, and then they're on the boat, and then he fucking disappears
For the entire
for
I
an hour.
was like, is this guy? Who is this guy? I was like, I don't even know who this person is you're talking about.
Well, he probably went below decks
Exactly.
and got like swallowed in by everyone who looked like Peter Griffin.
By all the Irish
Yeah.
people, yeah.
Who was
Which
asking?
You don't see a whole lot of anything in the steerage. It's all about first class the
Yeah.
entire movie. It's just so dumb. And then this like the boat, people like to make fun of it because the boat sinks for like a half hour, and it does. But I mean, it's trying to be as close as possible.
Yeah, that was an
to-
accurate thing though.
to accurate. Yeah.
Things don't sink that
so-
fast.
No, it takes a while to fill up
So
water.
that's one of the few things I don't have wrong with this movie. The soundtrack is not as bad as I pictured it to be. I'm glad I didn't actually have to hear Celine Dion sing. So, yeah, I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio is good in it. There were a lot of stupid decisions that were made. Like at the end, I hope I'm not spoiling this for anyone. Everybody dies.
Well, yeah, it's
Everyone
just a historical
dies.
fact. It's like
Yeah.
spoiling World War
Yes.
II.
Yeah. By the way, people
died.
Yeah, people died. So there's the part when everybody's in the water, right? And then Jack dies, but you don't really know until later. And so then the lifeboat comes back and it's looking for living people, and Rose is on the door or whatever it is that she's on, and she's frozen. And rather than try to yell out to the people who are in the boats, she's just trying to revive Jack. It's like he's dead.
Yeah,
He's been dead for 27
You know
minutes.
do you know what's better than trying to revive the man who's been mostly submerged in the frozen North Atlantic? Would probably be to yell, and then maybe if he's still alive, the two of you could get out.
Yeah.
what is she gonna do with his like if he woke up? They're like, oh, just hang out in the water while they come. Like,
Yeah, well, now that I've squandered my opportunity to flag down the only people who are going to be able to save me, trying to get you up. Now you're wrapped around my hand, and then she has to let him go into the end of the Atlantic, and then he sinks because he's dead.
Yep.
And
As you mentioned before.
yeah, one of the better scenes though. There's a couple of good scenes. There's the one where they hit the iceberg, and then they have to close the lock, like the doors in between the different sections.
Okay.
That one's kind of intense because you got all the people in the machine room that are trying to get out, and there's a bit with some people getting trapped.
They're like, sorry, bro. You're taking one for the
yeah.
team.
For all the really bad characters in this movie, there's quite a few good ones. The captain of the ship's pretty good because he dies in the stupidest way, but he pretty much acknowledges his mistake and goes down with the ship. The guy who designed the boat dies in a pretty good way too. But probably the best, like, you have to wait the entire movie for the best scene is when she is on the thing and she's trying to get the boat to come back, but she can't yell because she's cold. That one's pretty good too. Not in a sadistic way, Scott. I know you're laughing at me.
I was
a
partly
heartfelt
laughing
moment,
at, like,
'cause
I don't think I've ever been so cold that I couldn't yell. Like, why does cold affect
Yeah.
your yelling?
Yeah. Well, your whole body's
Because
shaking,
she's-
right? You can't.
She's dying of hypothermia.
Well, that's what I'm
You
saying.
can't-
I've never
you
died of
can't- and then-
hypothermia, so
Not yet.
I can't speak
So
to
then
it. But she
she
didn't
has
die
to,
of it
like,
either, so
No, she has to like paddle over to one of the ship people to get their whistle, and that's how she saves herself. But she's yelling. Well, she's trying to yell, "Come back to the boat." It's that one's a pretty.
but it takes
You
the
know.
same amount of, like, lung capacity to blow a whistle as it does to yell.
Well, depends.
I've seen the Digimon movie where Corey has to use the whistle to wake up Agumon, and then he digivolves into Greymon.
That's
I've seen that
different.
shit.
That's a totally different thing. That's
No, she has to force it. She has to force it. It was my point. I'm on your side.
Oh, okay. So she could, but
Like,
that's what I'm
she's-
saying. She could have forced the yell. She could be like,
Because she's
ah!
and then all of a
but
sudden
there's
she
a
gets the power.
difference. There's a difference in muscle between trying to use your vocal cords versus just forcing air out
Versus
of your
diaphragm.
mouth. Yes. So that might be the difference. Either way,
Oh no.
that wasn't the part that was good about it. It was just like even though you know how the movie ends, there's just kind of like a moment where you're like, oh, does she like, this is frustrating because she had that time and she, didn't flag him down, and then now she wants them to come back and she's going to die if they don't see her. And yeah. Anyway.
Who was asking?
Titanic.
Yeah, who are you? And I'm the baby.
I watched Titanic and I would not watch it again.
Ever.
I've seen it in my adult life. I don't need to see it again.
Wait until you're middle-aged and then just do it just for old time's sakes.
Although, according to you, we are middle-aged.
At heart, man, at heart.
Who wants to go next?
Andrew, why don't you tell me what your short list is? Because you said it was.
I
pretty
watched Mike Tyson's Mysteries,
short. Nice.
Obviously.
and then I watched a couple seasons of Grey's Anatomy, and that is it.
Nice. What seasons are you on?
I'm almost done season 5.
Okay, so you're not even halfway through that stuff yet.
Nope. I'm up to like 2009.
You got so much to catch up on in it. Ugh, I feel bad for
I
you.
know. I know George is about to die.
Okay,
I
that's
know
what you're
Izzy's
getting
gonna
up to,
get cut
okay.
from the show.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you're getting to a decent part. What's her name? So Supergirl's sister's coming into the show soon. Then
Is she, wait, she's already there.
is she already there? Okay, then my timing's
yeah.
off with it. Okay, so Lexi's already there. Okay.
Yeah. Lexi's
Okay.
already there.
I've messed up when the interns come in. I thought they came after what's his name.
Yeah,
died.
because she's busy banging Sloane. She hasn't died yet though.
No, that happens. That's a while down the road. That's a few
Yeah.
more seasons.
That's season like 8 or 9.
Yeah, well, at least you know. At least you're prepared for
I
that
know.
shit.
I know.
That's actually like a really fucked up episode. Like even I was like, I'm not normally someone who's like affected by like character deaths, but that one I'm like, wow, they made this. They really killed these people. Like wow, woo. It was pretty intense, but you'll make your way through it. But that's all you watched then.
That is all I watched.
All right. Well, I watched my normal, Arrow, Flash, Legion, all that stuff. Arrow, Flash, and all the DC ones will be wrapping up next week, I believe, if not wrapped up this week. I just watched The Flash. It could have been a season finale.
I think
hope
there's
it's
one
not.
more. I think there's one more episode of Flash, and I think
so.
Arrow's done this week.
Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah, so they're all wrapping up
'Cause-
soon.
Because Flash got pushed 1 week more than the others because of the Olympics and
Okay, that makes
other
sense.
stuff.
Okay, yeah. So I got one more Flash episode, thankfully, but Arrow, another one in the next couple days. Gotham, I think, has one more episode as well. But this week's Gotham episode did have a lot of references to the Killing Joke.
Oh.
But I also heard this thing saying that there was a report that said that they weren't ever going to be allowed to do green hair in Gotham, so they could never put green hair on or use the name Joker. So in my mind, he's not the Joker. So he's this ripoff.
Why can't they do that?
That's just so one of the things with the studios is that like pretty much the parent company that owns it has to give permission to its younger parts is the best way to say it, like its smaller parts to make these things. And so when they do the TV shows, they give them different rules. Like with Arrow, he was originally allowed the Suicide Squad, but then they retracted that when they decided to make the movies.
Yeah, make the movie. Yeah.
So it's that same kind of thing with
See, that makes sense, but the green hair doesn't make any sense to me.
well, it's
Like you
'cause
can't.
they-
Why would you bother showing the character if you're not gonna?
well,
show
that's
the
what
character?
what I think it is pretty much leaving it so that it's ambiguous. Pretty much like they never called him the Joker, and he never had the classic Joker green hair. So now it's just this guy who's very Joker-esque in this whole show, but they've never called him the Joker. So they kind of get to kind of off. You know what I mean? Like they kind of get to be like, well, maybe he's not. If it's pretty much for people who are upset that he's the Joker. It's like, well, he's not really the Joker. We never called him that. But it's
He's just
also
a
like
crazy serial killer who maybe influences the Joker down the road.
which I'm totally cool with if that's kind of like I kind of like leaning towards that idea, especially since they're like, oh, we're never calling him the Joker. So I'm like, well, then he was never the Joker. So
Do they ever use like a Red Hood reference? Like at least have him wearing a red hoodie that he pulls up at
they
some
had a
point?
different Red Hood character at a different point. Like they had a Red Hood gang.
Okay.
They went
Well,
a little bit more
that
like
was a
the
thing, yeah.
yeah. I think they went to more like the first version of the Red Hood gang from the comics, where he had like a stupid box over his head that was red. Yeah. So I think they went that route with it, if I remember correctly. That was like first or second season.
See, I like the joke, like the Killing Joke version, where he was the Red Hood, and then like bad shit happened, so he, became the Joker.
Yeah, they kind of did that a little bit in a sense, that just except not the comedian route as much as he just had a bad day, which was caused by his brother, and it's kind of weird. They kind of half did it, you know what I mean? Like, so like the references to the Killing Joke I have written down are like they made the one bad day reference. He had the couple outfits from the Killing Joke, like specifically the one with the kind of the top hat type, not top hat, the one the large brim hat. You know what I'm talking about?
Like the bowler or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the type hat. That with like the trench coat look with the sunglasses on and off. He had that one for like a good chunk of it, and then he had the black. He had the suit look going on. The Joker, like the more recent Joker, where he's in like the like kind of tuxedo type suit, and his hair is like almost a black green, like really dark. They had that look as well. So they did a couple little references. I had to go double check that those were Killing Joke costumes, but I was like, oh, this is a little strange that they're trying to lean towards that, but also half-assing it too. You know what I mean? So Gotham's kind of iffy with me, but they're doing another season, so I'm gonna stick with it anyways.
Be strong, man. Do it for us, because I won't watch it.
I know. But the last thing about just Gotham was that we have Ra's al Ghul and maybe this fake Joker guy maybe teaming up. We'll find out next week.
Back?
Yeah, he's died and come back a couple times. I forgot to mention he came back like 2 weeks ago from the dead. He started off as a mummy, and then he took some of Bruce's blood. Now he's just normal again. But he's still magic. It's a whole thing. They're still trying to get Bruce. It's a whole thing. I don't know. I'll let you know next season. season.
Oh my god. Kill him off.
Yeah. But I didn't watch much else this week. I just watched S.H.I.E.L.D., which is wrapping up as well. They made another Infinity War reference this time. They just showed some of the aftermath in New York from what happened in Infinity War. So not much, but another little reference, which I always liked. And then the last thing I watched Thor Ragnarok 3 times this weekend.
3 times.
I rented it. I had it for 48 hours. I was making a puzzle over the weekend as well, so I put it on to start.
And you just kept pressing play?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I play the first time, watched it, let my brother watch it for the first time because he hadn't seen it yet while I was doing stuff, and then I rewatched it a couple of times while doing the puzzle. But I love that one. I could put that on the background anytime. It's so funny. Taika Waititi is just... I love his brand of humor. He's just so funny. And I find it so clever, too. It's just so smart, in my opinion. Just like, oh, you guys, you just went there. Okay, cool. That's funny. Nice. And just move on with it. And I really love the fact that they let Chris Hemsworth just like really lean into the fact that he can be funny and has like great comedic timing and comedic chops. So overall, I just loved Thor Ragnarok, but I'm sure we've talked about that dozens of times before. But yeah, that's all I watched this week.
Well, look at that. We did a short episode.
Yeah, we managed to keep it concise.
Using that word again.
Yeah, because I don't want to jinx our shortness. But do we gotta throw any shout outs this week?
Shout out to Reactin.
Helping us with our allergies.
Psych, that shit doesn't work.
Claritin's helping me out.
Oh man,
so far. Claritin's super strong antihistamine eye drops.
See, I don't have the burning eyes. I just got the congestion. And Arius don't work. Claritin don't work. Reactin don't work.
Okay, well, I'll give a quick shout out to a few of our new UK listeners and our new YouTube subscribers, if any of them have managed to make it over to the podcast so far. Just thanks for everyone for joining us. It's nice to know that someone's around.
Yeah. As long as someone besides us is listening to it.
Besides us and Andrew's mom, I'm happy. But thanks for joining us this week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.